everybody, and welcome back to the Empty Nest Teacher channel. If you are new, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are not new and you saw our previous video, we appreciate you for coming back, and we don't take any of you for granted. Today, this video is about the alternative program that I'm in that is allowing me to be a teacher. I have to say that not everyone that becomes a teacher comes fresh out of college with their degree in teaching or have planned, I want to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher ever since I was younger and all of that. There are alternative routes that some of us are taking to become a teacher. So in my situation, I have been an accountant for many, many years, and I still love accounting. It's not that I can't stand doing accounting anymore. I love numbers. I love spreadsheets, and that's just my thing. A lot of things having to do with my life, and a lot of things having to do with the classroom that I will be in will be on spreadsheets because of my background in accounting. But when I had children in those of you who saw the last video know that I have twin girls and I have a son. My son is the youngest. My twin girls graduated in 2019. My son just graduated this past May 2021. So he is on his way to college in a little while this summer. But when my girls went to school, it was a shift. This was like the first major shift in my life since I had my children, and so the first shift came with the loss of my job. And so I had been at that job for 10 years, and it wasn't a situation where I got fired or anything negative happened. I had older employers, and there were some medical issues going on, and they decided to downsize back to their home office. So that's what they did. And I went along for a while, looking for jobs, applying for jobs, even going on interviews. And nothing really materialized into a full-time accounting position. In the meantime, my girls had transitioned to high school. And of course, this is, the beginning of, a phase in their lives. This is the last phase before you graduate from high school and go on to college, or, you get a job, or whatever it is that you seek to do after high school. And so at that time, because I was not working full time, I was able to be present. I have to admit that being a person of faith, I wondered, why was this happening? How could this be happening? It wasn't so much that it was the loss of the job that I had for 10 years. It was more so that it just was not working out in terms of me getting a new job. So I began to volunteer at my children's school. My son also, he was in middle school at the time. He played soccer. All of them actually, prior to this particular year, did martial arts. They were involved in a martial arts camp through a summer camp a few years prior. And so up until that point, they lived and breathed martial arts. So they traveled, they competed at NAGA competitions. They got the belts, they got the swords, all of that. And so when my daughters transitioned to high school, they decided to run track. Now, years prior, when they were maybe 5 or 6 years old, they went to a Christian school and they ran track at the Christian school. And so their minds kind of went back to that, and they enjoyed it. And so they joined the track team, and they did an amazing job on the track team. Along the 4 years, my oldest daughter, the oldest twin, is a sprinter and a jumper. My youngest twin is a sprinter and a hurdler, and they did an amazing job for their high school. They ended up getting a really good coach midway in, I think junior year is when he came in, and they were able to do amazing things, even state championships. And so I was able to be there for that. So I was there and able to volunteer so much that I ended up being voluntold in terms of PTSO president. PTSO is parent teacher organization. At first it was PTSA prior to me becoming president. But I began to volunteer, since I have a little bit of time, since, time in between interviews or in between applying, I can go ahead and volunteer at the school. Which I enjoyed. I enjoyed being there for my children. I was able to be there for my son and be present at his soccer games. At the time he was playing soccer at his middle school, and so I did enjoy that piece. There is something for me as a parent. There was a little something that would have been missing had I not been able to be there. So at the time, working a 9 to 5, there's no way that I would have been able to be present at their track meets, be present at the soccer games, and be present in terms of volunteering at with the parent organization at their schools. So I took that opportunity while I was trying to figure out my own transition to go ahead and volunteer. So over the course of my daughter's 4 years in high school, I ended up becoming an assistant track coach. I ended up, like I said, becoming the PTSO president. And I ended up just, doing these things that caused me to be there for my kids, and not just for my kids, but when you take on those positions, you end up being there for everyone else's kids, for staff at the school, for other parents, and I have to say that I really enjoyed that. But what ended up happening is, as my son, the girls graduated and my son was now in high school, and he was able, thank God, through a special program, to go to the same high school as the girls. That was one thing that I was grateful for, is that all three of them ended up being at the same school, thank God. Because that's one thing I don't know how parents do it, especially for those that are single parents, and you want to be there to support your children, and they're at different schools, especially at the high school level. I don't know how you do it, so God bless you. But thank God I was not, tasked with that situation. So with all of them being in the same school, it was a little bit easier. So my son decided not to pursue soccer any longer. He decided to go ahead and join the track team. And so all three of them were on the track team. So at all the track meets, here we are. I'm doing video. I'm taking care of all the administrative items for our coach. I'm making sure that the videos are posted on social media. That was our way of trying to help our athletes to be visible and be seen by college coaches. And, I have to say that we were able to, play a little part in a number of our students getting scholarships for college. So we were super excited about that. But I just really enjoyed that time. Of course, still in the course of all of that, applying for jobs, going on interviews, and I knew that this period was not going to be permanent. Your children are not going to stay in high school. They're not going to always do high school track. They're not going to always, do some of the things, whether it's band or cheerleading or whatever it is that your children may be interested in and participate in high school. And so I knew that I had to prepare myself, number one, to get a full-time job, and number two, to figure out what I was going to do. Was I going to go back into accounting, or was I going to try to do something else? What that something else was, I have no clue, or I had no clue at the time. So at some point in time, something kind of dropped into my mind to go back to school. Okay. I don't know what that meant. I didn't know what I was going to go to school for. Should I go back to school and get my master's, within the business arena? Should I get my MBA? I had started my MBA, but I didn't finish it. Should I finish that up? Or do I go another route? I did not know. I didn't have a clue. So, as my daughters graduated, thank God, one got a full ride because of track. The other ended up with like 85% ride because of track. And then my son was finishing up his program. So here we are at the last year of my son's program. He is or was taking classes at the local community college in conjunction with the program that he's in. He's going into his first year when he graduated high school. He was approaching high school graduation, and he was going to go to college with college credits. And so, what am I going to do? What is Andrea going to do? Again, I had the idea to go back to school, just didn't know, what I was going to do. So there were a number of key people that I feel like were put in place to sow seeds into me. I wasn't ready to receive the seeds and to water the seeds and all of that when it finally came. But the seeds were sown nevertheless. And so one of them was my pastor. And I remember him coming to me at church one day, and he said something about being a teacher, and, to prepare. And, I'm not going to get into all the details. And I was like, Pastor, are you sure that word was for me? Not that, of course I trust my pastor, and of course he's always spot on when he gives a word of knowledge and all of that, but I was just like, maybe that one is not for me. My principal, which is the principal at my children's school, he kind of planted some seeds and said, well, why don't you try this? Why don't you do this? I had even applied for some jobs, accounting jobs within the school system. I figured I'm already here as a coach, why don't I try to get a job within the school system? That, wasn't working out. So he planted some seeds. Why don't you do this? Why don't you try that? Think about this. And I'm like, principal, I don't know about that. It's one thing to have been a track coach, and I loved our team. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. It's raining. It's getting ready to storm, and it's thundering, if you can hear that. I loved our team. I loved the athletes that we had. It was like a family bond, a family environment that we had created, and all was well with that. My experience working with the parents, was going well, but to be a teacher, that had never, ever in life come to mind for me to become a teacher. As a matter of fact, because of my work within the school system or at my children's school, I had never wanted to be a teacher. Never did I ever want to be a teacher. And that's not, a negative, to throw out a negative vibe for teachers. That was because I had seen behind the scenes what teachers go through. I had seen behind the scenes what it takes. I had seen behind the scenes the demand. And of course, we all know that teachers don't get paid a lot. Teachers do not get compensated for what they deserve for all the different things that teachers do. The salary of a public school teacher just does not cut it. So because of some of those reasons, I always respected teachers because I knew what they went through. Even just prior to just, getting so involved as I did, just observing other parents, other classroom parents of my children. I would just always think, okay, if I was a teacher, there's no way that I'd be able to, deal with that. Like, I just can't deal with this. And so, down the road, an opportunity opened up for me to, kind of think about working with children. And so at that point, I feel like I told my mom at one point, I feel like God had worked on my heart over that period of time. I feel like he sent people my way to kind of break up, my hard heart toward that. And with the experience that I was able to get, working with children, and also, mind you, this is not the first time that, I had the opportunity to work with children. I had, volunteered through my church, and done different things with my children in different capacities. Like I said, they, had been athletes for years, and traveling, and with my church, I was the youth vice president for a period of time, and so I had taught there. Of course, that is not equal to what actual teachers do in the classroom, but I had exposures to teaching or working with children, so that was not foreign to me. But over the course of time, once seeds had started to be planted, I have to say that my heart just completely softened, and it basically did a 180. So the thing that I said I would never do, the profession, the career that I said I would never embark upon, is now what I am, getting geared up for. And I have to say that this is a situation where I know that, for me, with my belief system, God had to do it because I didn't want to. Andrea didn't want to. And I have to say, sitting here at this point, that with the experience that I have been exposed to in the past year, it has completely changed how I feel. My thought process does not change in terms of how, teachers are not respected or, as much as what they should be. That has not changed just because of how society is. But, the tenderness of my heart towards children, I think is what pulled me in. And there are some administrative tasks. There are some, like I said, I taught before on a different level. So I had done these things before. And I think that's what this was all for. So everything that I had done, all the seeds that I planted, seeds that I didn't realize were plants for this, now I realize this was what it was for. And so within the past few months, I was able to take my praxis exam. So all teachers from probably most of the states in the United States know about the praxis exam. And it really it came down to the wire. This is something that I was not planning for. So I had time to plan out my praxis, study time, and, test. So I didn't do all that. I literally had 2 weeks to study for the first praxis, which is the core. The core exam has 3 parts. I had 2 weeks, to study for those 3 parts. It is math, reading, and writing. And thank God I passed the math. Thank God I passed the reading. And then there was the writing. I had a glitch where, and anybody that has taken the writing exam for the core knows that there are multiple parts. You have like a multiple choice part, and then you have 2 essays. Well, I had completed the 40 questions in the multiple choice part, got into the first essay. I was reading the prompt, and some kind of way the system just skipped to the second essay. Never got a chance to write a word for the first essay. So I was kind of discouraged by that because I was on a time limit at this point. When things happened and I finally decided to do it, it literally I was on the clock. And so I had to retake, long story short, I had to retake the writing exam. So I had to pay for it again, So I did that. In the meantime, I had to prepare for the second praxis. And so in the state of Maryland, all teachers have to take the core, which is, like I said, the math, the reading, and the writing. And then you have to take the second praxis, which is based off of whatever area, content area you want to go into. So because I'm going into elementary education, that is the praxis 2 that I had to take. And so that was broken up into 4 parts. So I had math again, I had reading again, then I had social studies and science, because those are the 4 major subjects that you teach in elementary education. here in Maryland. So I had 2 weeks to study for that. So I literally, things happened and I was able to go ahead and make a final decision. I studied for 2 weeks to take core, which was 3 parts. Then I studied for 2 weeks to take the content, which was 4 parts. And so I literally prayed and I studied. I definitely studied. I studied each 2 week period I studied, but I literally just prayed and I asked God to help me pass, because had I not passed, I would not be able to move forward and to even start the program that I'm going to share. And so I was able to take that Praxis 2, the core content test, and I passed all 4 exams on the first go round. So similar to the core for me, except for the writing issue, I was able to pass it the first time around, and that was nothing but God. And then the writing, I had to retake the writing, like I said, and I was able to pass that as well, the second go round. So I was just so grateful, and it felt like a weight off of my shoulders. So now that I passed the Praxis, what I had to do was start an alternative teacher program. And here in the county or the district where I am, it's called the Resident Teacher Program. And so basically what they do is all summer long, just about every day from the beginning of July to right up until we have to go into school, it's intense training. And so there are a number of different sessions and courses that we do that we have to take for training. You come in with a cohort, so you do, have a support system. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't know how many people will be in the cohort, but there are 2 different tracks that you can take. So there's the special education track, which I was looking at, and that was just something I had to pray about as well. And then there was the regular elementary classroom teacher track. And so I ended up doing the classroom teacher track, the elementary education. And so I put in my paperwork, and so we had to do an interview and, all of that. And so that was the next piece that I wanted to make sure as we're going through Praxis, we had to do the interview to make sure that, I was a good candidate. So I was able to pass the interview process, and so, in the clear. So as I sit today, I have been accepted into the program to prepare me to be an elementary classroom teacher in Maryland. And so I am looking forward to it, but unsure of what is going to happen. I'm excited about the whole process and the shift for me. So, as my children are shifting, and my last child is, preparing to shift out of the house, so am I shifting. So am I shifting. And so as I am preparing to become an empty nester, I am now becoming an empty nest teacher. So I am shifting in terms of my mentality as a parent and having, your children with you and you supporting your children all the time. And I'm shifting to a completely different career. So that is what this channel for the most part will be about. There will be some other things, going on in this channel. I have to move my daughter into her new school. My oldest daughter, she got a full ride to Missouri State University, and this is now her junior year, so she has now transitioned, and she will be going to school in Illinois. And so you may see a little bit of that. You may see my son's move-in process. As soon as I come back from taking my daughter to school in Illinois, I then have to gear up a day or two later and take my son and his roommate and move them in. So this is my life right now. And I'm looking forward to it. So we will be spending this summer preparing for everybody to shift where they need to go. I will be in class every day, which you know, like I said, I don't know what this is going to bring. I don't know all the details of all of the sessions and all of the training that we have to do. I don't know how big this cohort is going to be. I don't know, you know, I just don't know what's going to happen at this point. But I can say that I'm excited. I'm excited for me. So to those of you who are parents that have been, you know, extremely supportive of your children, especially those that have high school children, you've been there, you've made it a point to be present, you've made it a point to, you know, be there to guide them and encourage them, and just support, you know, what they're doing. And as they are preparing to shift, we have to shift as well. And so for some, that may be a mental and emotional shift. That may be, it may look like, you know, you may cry. It may look like, you know, a situation where you don't know what you're going to do because you've been so supportive of them and your life becomes them, which is, you know, you're a parent. So of course you have to do what you have to do with your children. But sometimes your life can become them. You're engulfed in their events. You're engulfed in their education. You're engulfed in everything, your children. And then once that goes away, or shifts, because it will never go away. We'll always be parents, no matter how long, you know, they're gone to school or how old they get. We'll always be their parents. But when that shifts, then we have to shift as well. I said in another video, you know, people always ask me, well, what are you going to do? You know, how are you going to feel? And in my case, I think I have dedicated so much to them. I've just devoted so much of me to my children that there won't be any tears or anything like that. I've said before, this is what we have worked for. This is what we have worked for. Yes, they have academically and athletically worked for this, but by way of being their parent and always being there and always supporting them, this is what I have worked for too. So I'm excited for them. I'm excited to see them going to the next level. I'm excited to see them shift, and I'm excited for my shift, guys. I'm excited for my shift. So on this channel, I want to just bring you along on the journey with me so that you can experience my shift with me. And if those of you that are out there that are watching this video are going through your own shift or preparing within the next few years to go through your own shift, I invite you to come along with me. Make a comment in the comment section. Let me know that you're there. Let me know what type of situation you know, you may be dealing with now, or what may be upcoming for you. We can do this together, guys. We can do this together. And you know, I'm not gonna knock those that cry. You know, I'm not gonna knock those that feel some type of way, but I want to promote that that same energy, you know, that same vision that we have when we deal with our children and we encourage them. Turn around and invest it back into yourself. That's what I plan to do for me, especially when it's your last child. That is shifting. It's different when you have, you know, a number of children and the first one goes and you still have some at home. But when that last one prepares to shift, start getting yourself in the mindset to shift. You know, what is it that I want to do? What is it that I need to do? What are the things that I need to address? You know, is it going back to school? Is it getting another job? You know, is it downsizing the house? If there are a number of kids and it's only you, or it's only you and your spouse, and that's too much, maybe a downsize, you know, if that's necessary for you, so that you won't be there in the house, you know, this big old house by yourself. Everybody's situation is different, but we want to share all of those different situations here at the Empty Nest Teacher channel. So again, thank you so much for coming, whether you're new or whether you've seen the last video. Thank you so much for being here. I invite you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, and you can hit that notification bell so that when I upload a new video, you will be the first to know. So thank you guys for listening to this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.